Stay a guai from po pubuacho ask far te safitags. There comes a moment in your life when you realize that not everyone who enters your world deserves a seat at your table. Some people don't come to add peace. They come to take it. Some don't come to love you. They come to use you. And the most dangerous ones are those who don't take from your wallet or your home, but from your mind, your heart, and your spirit. Today, I want to talk to you about the people who ask for things they have no right to. The ones who demand your peace while offering nothing but chaos. The ones who expect loyalty they never return. The ones who want your silence when they mistreat you, your time when they waste it, and another chance when they've already broken every chance you've given. Because the truth is simple. The wrong people don't need to steal anything from you. They just need to convince you to give it to them. So listen closely. If you've been wondering why you feel tired, drained, unappreciated, or emotionally stretched, this message is the sign you've been ignoring. Stay away from people who ask for these 5 things, because the moment you stop giving them access, you'll finally reclaim the energy that was always yours. Let's begin. Stay away from people who ask for your peace every time they need chaos. Some people enter your life gently, pretending to care, pretending to connect, pretending to be part of your world. But the truth reveals itself when you look closely at the pattern they leave behind. There is a type of person who never comes to share your peace. They come to borrow it, steal it, drain it, and make it theirs. They carry storms inside them, and instead of learning to calm their own waves, they look for someone who already lives in stillness. Someone grounded, someone soft, someone like you. And when they find you, they cling to you like you're the anchor holding together a ship they refuse to repair. They don't ask for your love, or your guidance, or your honesty. They ask for your peace. They ask for your emotional stability. They ask for your calming presence every time their world collapses, every time their mistakes catch up to them, every time they need someone to absorb the consequences they created. And the most heartbreaking part, they make you believe that helping them is kindness, loyalty, compassion, when in reality, it's emotional self-sacrifice. This is the kind of connection that feels like you're keeping someone else alive while slowly drowning yourself. These people don't come to grow with you. They come to survive off you. They don't come to build with you. They come to rebuild themselves on your energy. They don't come to bring harmony. They come because chaos is the only language they know, and they expect you to translate it into peace. Notice how they show up. They always appear when their life is falling apart, but disappear when yours needs support. They call you at the worst times, not because they need someone. They need you specifically. They need your calm voice, your steady presence, your emotional intelligence, your nurturing nature. You become their therapist, their emotional crutch, their safe zone, their backup plan. And yet, when they feel better, when the storm settles, they vanish until the next crisis pulls them back to your doorstep. You stop being a person, you become an emergency room. And emergency rooms are only visited when something is broken. These are the people who drain you without ever saying, "Thank you." They expect you to hold space for their pain, but never have space for your feelings. They want you to listen endlessly but cannot handle hearing one truth about themselves. They expect comfort but offer no comfort in return. They want your peace but contribute nothing to it. And slowly, your emotional world begins to collapse. Not because you're weak, but because you've spent so much time holding up people who were never supposed to lean on you that heavily. You start to feel tired, irritated, disconnected from yourself. You find yourself feeling responsible for emotions that aren't yours. You catch yourself worrying about problems that don't belong to you. You start to feel guilty for wanting rest, space, or silence. And that's how you know someone has been feeding on your peace. People who ask for your peace in exchange for their chaos never truly change. They never learn to fix their patterns because they know you will fix the damage. They never learn emotional balance because you always stabilize them. They never learn accountability because you carry the weight of their consequences. You become their emotional battery, charged only when they need you, drained until you have nothing left for yourself. And the more you give, the more you lose sight of who you used to be before they filled your life with their storms. Staying away from someone like this isn't cruelty, it's survival. Because every time you give your peace to someone who lives in chaos, you invite their storms into your life. You deserve connections that feel like mutual healing, not emotional robbery. You deserve people who bring peace alongside you, not people who demand it from you. Real love, real friendship, real connection. They don't ask you to sacrifice your mental stability. They don't drain you to fill themselves. They don't break things just so you can fix them. The right people bring calm, they bring clarity, they bring balance. They want to grow with you, not feed off you. And here's the deeper truth: you are not obligated to be someone's savior. You are not required to hold anyone's emotional baggage. You are not responsible for healing wounds you didn't create. You are allowed to walk away from anyone who destroys their own life and then expects you to rebuild it. You are allowed to step back from people who show up only in crisis, who drain you, who demand your presence without giving theirs. You are allowed to choose yourself. Because peace is not a gift you hand out, it's a garden you protect. The moment you distance yourself from people who constantly need your peace to survive, you will feel your spirit breathe again. The heaviness lifts. Your mind clears. You feel lighter, freer, grounded. You start recognizing how much emotional weight you were carrying for someone else. You begin to reconnect with your own silence, your own stability, your own inner world. And something beautiful happens. You become protective of your energy in a way you never were before. You stop attracting chaos because you stop entertaining people who carry it. You stop being the emergency room and start being the sanctuary you were meant to be. Stay away from people who ask for your peace every time they need chaos. Not because they are bad people, but because they are not responsible with your heart. And your peace, your calm, your mind, your emotional clarity is the most sacred part of you. Never give it to someone who treats it like a temporary shelter. You deserve people who bring sunlight, not storms. You deserve peace that stays, not peace that is constantly stolen. Protect your space, protect your heart. Protect your energy, because once you do, everything in your life begins to rise. Stay away from people who ask for your loyalty while giving you their doubt. Loyalty is one of the most sacred forms of love you can offer another human being. It is trust in action, consistency in silence, presence without performance, and commitment without conditions. But there is a painful truth many people learn the hard way: not everyone who demands your loyalty is capable of giving it back. Some people want your devotion, your effort, your faithfulness, but they are unwilling to provide even the smallest pieces of it in return. They want you to stand by them while they question your every move. They want you to choose them, even when they never choose you. They want you to defend them while they secretly doubt your intentions. And this is the type of connection that slowly erodes your spirit, because loyalty becomes a one-way sacrifice instead of a mutual bond. There are people who expect you to be there at your highest capacity while they show up at their most minimal effort. They want full access to your heart while giving you restricted access to theirs. They demand your trust but offer you uncertainty. They want commitment from you but keep one foot outside the door. Their words ask for loyalty, but their actions whisper abandonment. And because you are a giving person, a loyal person, a deeply hearted individual, you try to justify their inconsistency. You tell yourself they're just guarded, just stressed, just afraid. But the truth is much simpler. They want the benefits of your loyalty without the responsibility of giving theirs. They want to be your priority while treating you like an option. These are the people who test your loyalty while never proving theirs. They create situations where you're the one constantly reassuring them, explaining yourself, validating them, calming their insecurities, holding the relationship together. They accuse you of things you'd never even consider doing. They question your intentions while hiding their own. And slowly, you begin to shrink parts of yourself so you don't trigger their doubts. You start avoiding conversations that might upset them. You start over-explaining simple things just to prevent misunderstandings. You begin carrying the emotional workload they never bother to share. This is not love, it's emotional dominance hidden beneath the disguise of loyalty. Real loyalty isn't something you chase. It isn't something you beg someone to recognize. It certainly isn't something you should have to prove constantly. Authentic loyalty grows naturally when two people value each other equally. But with the wrong person, your loyalty becomes a trap, a tool they use to secure your devotion while keeping you in a place of uncertainty. They want you tied to them, but they refuse to tie themselves to you. So they feed your heart just enough to keep you hoping, while starving your soul just enough to keep you doubting. This creates emotional imbalance so deep that you start believing loyalty means endurance, enduring their doubts, their accusations, their inconsistency, their emotional distance. People who ask for your loyalty while giving you their doubt often carry their own unhealed wounds. But remember this carefully. Their unhealed wounds are not your responsibility. You are not a rehabilitation center for people who refuse to grow. You are not a guarantee for people who can't guarantee anything back. You are not obligated to stay loyal to someone who makes you feel guilty for wanting clarity. Loyalty should never feel like walking on glass. It shouldn't demand your silence. It shouldn't require you to accept disrespect in the name of commitment. It shouldn't make you question your worth every time they question your intentions. Doubt is a poison in slow motion. It doesn't destroy all at once. It destroys gradually. It kills the connection first, then the confidence, then the communication, and finally, it kills the person inside the relationship. When someone constantly doubts you, they plant seeds of insecurity inside you. They make you feel like everything you do is being watched, analyzed, judged. They make you feel like you're always one mistake away from being accused again. And the most dangerous part, you start internalizing those doubts. You start questioning yourself, even when you know you've done nothing wrong. You start believing you have to earn love that should have been given freely. Staying away from someone like this isn't emotional weakness. It's emotional self-protection. You cannot build a life, a relationship, or a future on loyalty that only flows one way. You cannot thrive in a space where you are constantly defending yourself against battles you never created. You cannot find peace with someone who treats you like a suspect instead of a partner. And no matter how much you love someone, love cannot survive where trust is absent. You deserve someone who sees your loyalty as a blessing, not as leverage. Someone who trusts you instinctively, not suspiciously. Someone who loves without playing mind games. Someone who matches your effort, your energy, and your integrity. There is a profound shift that happens when you walk away from someone who demanded your loyalty while feeding you doubt. You begin to feel your spirit return. The heaviness lifts, your mind clears. You start remembering what it feels like to be trusted, respected, valued. You start recognizing the version of you that wasn't constantly defending herself. You start seeing how deeply you were giving to someone who never gave back. And you begin to realize that your loyalty, when placed in the wrong hands, becomes your greatest vulnerability. But when placed in the right hands, it becomes your greatest strength. You are not difficult to love. You are simply giving your loyalty to someone who didn't know how to receive it. Someone who confused control with connection. Someone who confused suspicion with protection. But you are allowed to walk away from that. You are allowed to reclaim your dignity. You are allowed to save your loyalty for someone who deserves it. Someone who sees the beauty of your consistency. Someone who understands the value of your commitment. Someone who never doubts the heart you offer so wholeheartedly. Stay away from people who ask for your loyalty while giving you their doubt. Not because they are unworthy human beings, but because they are unprepared for the depth of love you carry. And your loyalty is too precious, too rare, too sacred to be wasted on someone who doesn't know how to honor it. Surround yourself with people who meet your loyalty with loyalty, your trust with trust, your effort with effort. That is where your heart will finally rest. That is where your spirit will finally feel safe. And that is where your love will finally grow. Stay away from people who ask for your silence when they mistreat you. There is a certain kind of person who hurts you and then expects you to pretend it never happened. They want to say what they want, do what they want, behave how they want, and they expect you to swallow the pain quietly. These are the people who fear accountability more than they fear losing you. They know exactly what they are doing. They know the impact of their words or actions. But instead of apologizing or changing, they turn the spotlight on you. They want you silent, compliant, and emotionally numb so they don't have to face the discomfort of their own reflection. They don't want you to speak because your voice exposes truth, and truth threatens the version of themselves they are trying to protect. And this is why your silence becomes their favorite tool. When someone mistreats you and then gets angry at you for reacting, understand this: they are not upset because they hurt you. They are upset because you noticed. They want to be able to cross your boundaries, disregard your feelings, and minimize your emotions without facing consequences. They want you to be the quiet, forgiving, endlessly tolerant version of yourself that makes their life easier. They want you to shrink so they can continue to grow in the wrong direction. They want you to doubt your own reality so they can keep controlling the narrative. And every time you silence yourself to keep the peace, you reinforce their belief that their behavior is acceptable. These people thrive where there is no resistance. They become bolder when you don't speak up. They push further when you don't set limits. They manipulate the situation until you start questioning whether you're overreacting, being dramatic, being sensitive. They twist your words, deny your experiences, and create confusion to ensure you stay quiet. They need you to suppress your voice because your voice is the one thing they cannot control. They can manipulate your kindness. They can twist your empathy. They can feed off your patience. But your voice, your truth, is the one thing that breaks their illusion, and that terrifies them. There is something deeply dangerous about a person who mistreats you and then expects silence. Because silence is not just the absence of speaking, it is the absence of boundaries, self-respect, and emotional safety. Your silence becomes the soil where emotional abuse grows. It becomes permission for them to repeat the same behavior. It becomes a signal that they can hurt you without consequences. And slowly, without realizing it, your silence becomes a prison you built to protect someone else's comfort at the cost of your own well-being. People who demand your silence will never protect you. They will never make space for your healing. They will never acknowledge the damage they caused because silence keeps them from confronting the truth about themselves. They will tell you things like, "Let it go. Stop bringing it up. Why are you making this a big deal?" They will weaponize phrases like peace, forgiveness, and love to shame you into suppressing your pain. But peace without truth is not peace. It is performance. Forgiveness without accountability is not healing. It is surrender. And love that demands your silence is not love at all. It is control. You deserve relationships where your voice is not treated as a threat. You deserve connections where your feelings are heard, not dismissed. You deserve people who listen when you say something hurt you, not people who turn your pain into an inconvenience. You deserve the kind of relationship where communication is not a battlefield, but a bridge. Because the right people don't get intimidated by your truth. They get closer to you because of it. When someone repeatedly asks for your silence after mistreating you, what they're truly asking is for you to abandon yourself. They want you to betray your own emotions so they don't have to confront theirs. They want you to choose them over your own well-being. And every time you choose silence, you lose a part of yourself. You lose confidence. You lose self-worth. You lose the ability to trust your own instincts. You lose your voice, and losing your voice means losing your identity. That is why reclaiming your voice is an act of liberation. Walking away from people who expect your silence is not weakness. It is courage. It is choosing truth over comfort, self-respect over attachment, healing over history. It is refusing to carry emotional burdens that someone else created. It is breaking free from the psychological cage that silence built around you. Because when you finally speak the truth, you break the spell they placed on you. You stop being controllable. You stop being predictable. You stop being the version of yourself they could manipulate. And that is when your healing begins. There is a profound shift that happens when you leave such people behind. You begin to feel your power returning. Your voice becomes stronger, clearer, unapologetic. You start recognizing the moments you let slide. You start seeing the disrespect you normalized. You start acknowledging the wounds you pretended didn't exist. And slowly, you rebuild the relationship you should have always had, the relationship with yourself. You begin to understand that your voice is not loud, not dramatic, not difficult. It is necessary. It is sacred. It is the instrument of your emotional freedom. Stay away from people who ask for your silence when they mistreat you. They are not preserving peace. They are preserving control. And the moment you stop giving them silence is the moment you take back your power. Your voice is your boundary. Your voice is your protection. Your voice is your truth. And anyone who fears your truth does not deserve a place in your life. Choose spaces where you can speak without fear. Choose people who value honesty over comfort. Choose relationships that allow you to be whole, expressive, and emotionally safe. Because silence may protect them, but your voice will protect you. Stay away from people who ask for your time, but never value a time, is the one thing you can never get back. Never replace, never recreate. It is the most sacred currency you possess. And yet, there are people who will treat it like it's worthless simply because it isn't theirs. These are the people who ask for your time with an open hand, but offer none of theirs in return. The people who expect you to be available on their schedule, ready on their terms, present at their convenience. They don't ask whether you're exhausted, busy, overwhelmed, or emotionally drained. They don't ask what you need, how you feel, or what you're carrying. They simply expect you to show up. Because you always do. And because you always do, they begin to believe your time is not precious. They begin to assume your availability is guaranteed. They begin to act like your presence is a favor you owe them, rather than a gift they should appreciate. There is a deep emotional burden that comes from giving your time to people who do not value it. They take your hours, your attention, your presence, without noticing the weight it adds to your life. They show up late, cancel plans last minute, keep you waiting, or expect you to adjust your life to accommodate theirs. They speak to you when they are bored, lonely, or in need of distraction. But when you need companionship, they're suddenly busy, overwhelmed, or unavailable. They see your time as flexible, stretchable, expendable, because they've never once considered what it costs you to give it. These people will drain your energy slowly, without guilt, because they've convinced themselves that you will always be there. They rely on your consistency without offering consistency in return. They expect endless patience from you while giving you fragments of their attention. They want meaningful conversations from you while offering surface-level responses. They want emotional support from you while offering silence when you need it most. They want your presence while treating it like an afterthought. The truth is not that they don't understand your value. They simply don't respect it. One of the most subtle forms of disrespect is wasting someone's time. And when someone repeatedly wastes yours, they're communicating something important. They don't see you as a priority. They don't see you as important. They don't see you as someone who requires care, consideration, or effort. They see you as an option, something to turn to when life is quiet, when plans fall through, or when their preferred people are unavailable. They compartmentalize you into the convenience category, not realizing that every minute you spend with them is a piece of your life you will never get back. This kind of dynamic slowly kills your spirit. It makes you question your worth. It makes you wonder why you're always giving more than you receive. It makes you feel guilty for expecting reciprocity. It creates emotional resentment, even if you don't voice it. Because deep down, you know something is off. You know you're being stretched thin. You know you're being taken for granted. But you tell yourself, maybe they're busy. Maybe they're stressed. Maybe they didn't mean it. You make excuses for the inconsistency, the procrastination, the last-minute cancellations. You give them the benefit of the doubt, even when their behavior leaves you doubting yourself. But the truth is simple: people make time for what they value. People show up for what matters to them. People prioritize the relationships they care about. You should never have to beg for someone's time, attention, or presence. You should never have to chase after someone who repeatedly shows you where you fall on their priority list. And you should never feel guilty for wanting to be treated with the same care and respect you give so freely. Staying away from people who do not value your time is not selfish. It's essential. Your time reflects your self-worth. When you allow people to waste it, you unintentionally signal that your life can be paused for their convenience. When you allow people to show up only when it benefits them, you teach them that your presence can be taken lightly. When you continue to give hours to people who give you minutes, you drain your soul and diminish your own importance. You deserve relationships where your time is honored, not exploited. There is a beautiful shift that happens when you begin to protect your time. You start noticing who genuinely shows up and who only comes around when they need something. You begin to identify who reaches out because they care and who reaches out because they're bored. You start recognizing which connections grow with you and which connections only take from you. And in that clarity, you reclaim power. You stop entertaining half-hearted efforts. You stop tolerating inconsistency. You stop offering time to people who never deserved it in the first place. And once you reclaim your time, you begin to reclaim your energy. You start investing in relationships that nourish you instead of draining you. You start giving your hours to people who value your presence. You begin choosing conversations that bring you closer to yourself instead of pulling you away from your joy. You begin building connections that feel reciprocal, balanced, and emotionally safe. Time becomes a reflection of who you are, not just what you give away. Never forget your time is your life. Every minute you give someone is a piece of your existence. So guard it, protect it, honor it. Choose people who treat your time as sacred, not people who treat it as disposable. Surround yourself with those who appreciate your presence, not those who misuse your availability. And walk away from anyone who takes your time for granted. Because once you start valuing your time, you start valuing yourself, and the world begins to respond accordingly. Stay away from people who ask for your time, but never value it. They do not deserve access to your hours, your energy, or your heart. Give your time to people who see you, appreciate you, and choose you, not only when it's convenient, but consistently. Your life becomes more peaceful, more meaningful, and more fulfilled when you stop wasting your time on people who waste their own. Protect your hours, because they are the building blocks of your destiny. And the moment you start honoring them, everything around you begins to shift in your favor. Stay away from people who ask for another chance without ever changing. There is a certain type of person who will hurt you, apologize, promise change, and then repeat the exact same behavior again, and again, and again. They don't ask for forgiveness because they value your heart. They ask for another chance because they value the access you give them. They want the door to stay open, not because they want to walk through it differently, but because they want to keep entering your life the same way they always have. These are the people who use "I'm sorry" as a reset button, not a revelation. They don't want growth, they want comfort. They don't want accountability, they want convenience. And every time they ask for one more chance, what they're really asking is for your permission to hurt you the same way, all over again. People like this know exactly what they are doing. They see the disappointment in your eyes, the hurt in your voice, the sadness in your heart. They witness the emotional damage they cause, and yet they do nothing to change the patterns that lead to it. Instead, they rely on your empathy, your forgiving nature, your softness, and your hope. They know you believe in people's potential. They know you want to see the good in them. They know you have a deep desire to fix, heal, and understand. So they use that against you, not always consciously, but consistently. They want the rewards of your love without the responsibility of earning it. One of the most dangerous illusions these people create is the belief that if you just give them enough chances, they will eventually become the person they promised to be. But patterns don't lie. Behavior doesn't lie. Time doesn't lie. If someone was going to change, you wouldn't need to give them the same forgiveness repeatedly. Change doesn't require 10 reminders. Transformation doesn't need endless lectures. Growth doesn't demand cycles of pain. Real change happens when someone is truly uncomfortable with their own behavior, not when they're temporarily uncomfortable with losing you. The truth is, a person who keeps asking for another chance without changing isn't looking for redemption, they're looking for permission. Permission to stay the same, permission to violate your boundaries, permission to live as they want while keeping you on standby. And every time you say yes, every time you forgive too quickly, every time you overlook the pattern, you teach them that your heart is a place where accountability can be avoided. You teach them that hurting you has no consequences. You teach them that you will always stay, no matter how much they take from you. And that is the beginning of emotional self-abandonment. People who don't change after being given multiple chances are addicted to access, not improvement. They thrive on your willingness to repair what they break. They depend on your emotional strength because they lack the courage to confront their own flaws. They apologize not to heal the relationship, but to reset the dynamic back to what benefits them. Their apologies are rehearsed. Their promises are recycled. Their intentions are shallow. And yet, their impact on you is deep, deeper than you often allow yourself to admit. There is a point where giving someone one more chance becomes a form of self-harm, because each time you hope they'll be different, you lose a little more faith in yourself. Each time you forgive pain that was avoidable, you lose a little more trust in your intuition. Each time you accept the same behavior, you lose a little more of your self-respect. Your heart becomes exhausted from fighting the same battles. Your mind becomes heavy with unspoken disappointment. Your soul becomes tired of trying to love someone into a version they refuse to become. And you begin to wonder if maybe the problem is you. But it never was. The people who truly love you won't need endless chances to get it right. They won't need reminders. They won't need ultimatums. They won't need you to constantly explain how you deserve to be treated. When someone cares, their behavior adjusts, their actions shift, their effort increases, their words align with their growth. Change becomes visible, not overnight, not perfectly, but consistently. Love proves itself in the way a person chooses to show up after they realize they hurt you. It shows up in accountability, not excuses. In action, not promises. Walking away from someone who keeps asking for another chance without changing isn't giving up, it's waking up. It is choosing to protect your heart from repetitive wounds. It is choosing to break the cycle instead of breaking yourself. It is choosing to honor your value instead of discounting it for someone who never learned to appreciate it. And the moment you step back, you'll see the pattern for what it truly was. Emotional manipulation disguised as vulnerability, inconsistency disguised as effort, comfort disguised as care. When you finally stop giving chances to the wrong people, your life begins to open in ways you couldn't see before. Your heart begins to heal. Your mind becomes lighter. Your spirit becomes stronger. You regain the emotional energy that was constantly being drained. You rediscover parts of yourself that had been overshadowed by someone else's chaos. You start attracting people who respect your boundaries, match your effort, and value your presence. And you realize that losing someone who never changed was never a loss. It was an escape. Never forget, you do not owe anyone unlimited access to your life. You do not owe someone repeated forgiveness when they refuse to grow. You do not owe anyone a place in your heart simply because they ask for another chance. You are allowed to walk away. You are allowed to protect your peace. You are allowed to say, enough. And you are allowed to choose yourself, even if it disappoints someone who expected you to choose them again. Stay away from people who ask for another chance without ever changing. They are not looking for healing. They're looking for freedom from accountability. And your heart was never meant to be their hiding place. Give your future to someone who doesn't just say they will change, but someone who actually does. Someone who understands that love without growth is just a cycle, and you deserve something far more beautiful than circles. You deserve evolution. You deserve effort. You deserve consistency. And you deserve someone who values every chance you give, not someone who wastes them all.